By day 3 of the Middle East crisis, the effects begin to extend beyond the region. What started as a local event now begins to connect globally. Through energy, through economies, and into everyday life. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important oil transit routes in the world. Every day, millions of barrels of oil pass through this narrow passage, connecting major producers to countries across the globe. From the Middle East to Asia, Europe, and beyond. And when uncertainty affects this route, the impact doesn't stay local, it spreads. Many countries depend heavily on oil passing through this region. Nations in Asia, like China, India, Japan, and South Korea, rely on steady energy supply to power industries, transportation, and daily life. European countries, already managing energy challenges, feel the pressure as prices rise. Even regions far removed geographically begin to feel the ripple effect. Because energy is not just a resource, it's a foundation. As uncertainty grows, markets react. Oil prices begin to rise. Not always because supply has stopped, but because of what might happen next. And that anticipation drives global pricing. Fuel becomes more expensive. Transportation costs increase, and slowly, those increases begin to appear in everyday goods. And this is where people begin to feel it, not as headlines, but as lifestyle changes. Driving becomes more intentional. People begin to ask, do I need to make this trip? Some combine errands. Others avoid travel altogether. Public transportation increases. Carpooling becomes more common, because fuel is no longer taken for granted. Work begins to change, in some areas. People return to working from home, not by choice, but by necessity. Companies adjust schedules. Some reduce operations. Others try to adapt quickly to changing costs. And for many people, home becomes the center again. Energy use becomes more intentional. Lights turned off more often. Appliances used less. People begin to think, how can we conserve? Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Because when resources feel uncertain, behavior becomes more mindful. Spending begins to shift. Unnecessary purchases are reduced. People prioritize essentials, stability, preparedness. Comfort becomes secondary. Security becomes the focus. At the same time, the news continues. Updates, analysis, speculation. Each headline adds pressure. Each update changes perception, and people find themselves constantly checking, trying to understand what comes next. Across different countries, frustration grows. Not just with rising costs, but with the situation itself. People begin to question, why is this happening? How long will it last? Who is affected most? Governments respond in different ways. But for everyday people, the concern is simple. How does this affect our lives? And in the middle of all this, people adapt. They simplify. They adjust. They find ways to move forward, not perfectly, but intentionally. Because even in uncertainty, there is still choice. How to respond, how to think, how to live. What began as a distant event has now become part of everyday life. Not through fear, but through impact. And this is how global events quietly reshape the world. If this gave you a new perspective, stay with the series. Next, we explore something different, not what's happening, but why people are struggling to understand it. Because as the situation unfolds, the narrative keeps changing. And so do the questions. If you want more from this series, just type more, also like, subscribe and share.